Welcome everyone back to the Soundtrack of Self podcast. I am your host, Paulina. For some reason, and if you experienced the same, yesterday was September 1st. If you've experienced a huge shift yesterday on September 1st or today, September 2nd, if you experienced a huge shift, please let me know in the comments. Let me know. I want to see what effect September has on you, or the beginning of September has on you. I'm very curious about that. So today I did want to talk about why I stopped drinking alcohol and why I stopped smoking weed. Basically I marked the seven month time period of me being sober. I started in January. Actually, hold up. It's been 8 months. Wait a second. Yeah, now I gotta calculate. Hold on. So it's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. Yeah. Okay, so 7 months. Perfect. Yeah, so August marked the 7th month of me being sober. No weed, no alcohol. I don't smoke anyways, so no smoke anyways. Smoking weed. And I do want to start off by saying or explaining why I decided to actually stop. So back in January, it's a new year. You kind of want to do something different, and you want to you kind of want to step into a new version of yourself. And so this is kind of what I did a little bit, but it wasn't like, oh, I have to start January 1st. I was more like, I'm going to figure out what I want in my life and how I want to live my life. And with that kind of came, okay, you know what? I guess I'm gonna try it to not drink anymore and to not smoke weed just for a short period of time. Because what happened was I have listened to a podcast, and he did a 45-day challenge, just in general, like with cold showers, I think, no smoking, no drinking, going to the gym and stuff like that, like everything, 45 days nonstop. And then I talked to my homegirl, and she was like, oh, I'm going to start this 30-day challenge with no drinking, and I'm kind of doing that. And yeah, those two kind of inspired me to do a challenge myself. And I decided to go 45 days. I decided to go 45 days with no alcohol, no smoking weed. And so I started it. And at some point, I think by the end of February, I wanted to check. I was like, hold up. I'm doing a challenge, am I not? Because I totally forgot when was the end day. I didn't pay attention to the end day. It wasn't like I wanted to mark it and then it's not like I'm waiting desperately to do it again. It was more like I'm doing it right now. I'm doing a challenge, but I'm not marking the end date. And as I go, I'm just going to check every now and then. And so I checked it by the end of February. I checked and I was like already over the 45 days. And I was like, hold on, that's not even that difficult for me. I'm gonna keep going. And so basically I kept on going. Now February, March, and now we're all the way in September. And middle of September will mark my 8th month. And you guys, for some reason, I just don't feel like drinking anymore. I just don't feel like smoking weed anymore. It's very odd, but I just don't feel like doing it anymore. Now, I do want to say that if you drink a lot of alcohol, maybe you're an alcoholic, low-key, you just don't know, and you stop drinking overnight, maybe that wouldn't be the best idea. I would consult with my doctor before you do that. But I do also think what played a role in my sobriety is I'm talking as if I had a problem with it. I didn't have a problem with it, but I'm getting to that a little bit later. I think what played a big role into me continuing to not drink and smoke was my dad, because he used to be an alcoholic for decades, and then he just stopped drinking. And overnight, he went cold turkey. And that deserves a lot of respect, because he tried many times, but this time he actually did it. However, that caused a lot of problems. It caused huge, immense health issues. And I think it kind of, probably unconsciously, because I wasn't really thinking about how it could be related to my sobriety, or because of me stopping to drink. But I do feel like unconsciously it has definitely impacted me to see what effects alcohol can have, and how bad it can be if you really get addicted to it, as well as what the aftermath of getting sober is. And I think if I look back at it now, I was like, this is kind of really not what I want. So I did not specifically had a problem with drinking, but I did have this tendency of drinking and smoking weed whenever hardships arose. Like, I was smoking weed. I started smoking weed when I was like 22. Every now and then, I wasn't really like heavily addicted or anything. Not even with the alcohol. I wasn't really addicted to anything, but it was more like a coping thing. It was kind of like, I'm going through something, that could really distress me now. This could really like ease me right now. And weed really made me feel a little bit more again. And yeah, I mean, in the same with alcohol, like my coping mechanism, I would say for years, was to go to the club and drink, especially when I'm going through a hard time, or when something happens in my life. I just, try to like move on by going to the club, drinking. And last year, I was going through a very rough time, and I went to the club and I drank so much. I drank as much as I haven't drank, like, I think I stopped drinking that much years ago. 2019 probably was the last time I drank that much. And then that night last year, I drank so much because I was just I was not doing good. I was really not doing good. And I always told God, I was like, God, if you let me survive this, I will not ever drink again. And I said that years ago, and then I did it again. And it's kind of like breaking a promise to yourself, And I feel like that it really does something to your self-esteem if you are not keeping your word to yourself. I know it's a word to God that I gave, but essentially it was a word to myself, because I didn't want to feel that way ever again. I was feeling so horrible. And this is why, I was just like, I cannot keep doing this to myself. Like, I cannot keep doing this to myself. That was last year when I, drank that one night. I drank so much. I still remember everything, but it was just, the dizziness you get, the uncomfort, and then you kind of feel like you have to throw up, but you don't have to throw up. And it's just like the most uncomfortable feeling in the world, to just be in this state of mind. You're still there, but you're not. It's like your body, I guess what it really is that your body is just going crazy, but your mind is still like there, and you see what's happening, you see what's going on, but you can't stop it because you're under the influence, it's in your system. Like, what are you going to do? And it scares me these days. If I think back to I guess this is why I'm still not drinking and still not smoking. It's because it kind of scares me not having the control over my body, not having the control over my mind. And when I shot the episode about depression and my suicidal thoughts when I was younger, I was struggling with having thoughts and I couldn't control those thoughts. I couldn't, handle them. I don't know. I didn't trust myself. So I was in a place where I had suicidal thoughts and I didn't know, am I going to do it? Am I not going to do it? I don't want to listen to it. But at the same time, I don't really have control anymore. They're just there. And I'm just like, doing what they tell me to do. Or like, I don't know. Like I didn't have any power over myself. And I kind of felt the same way with the alcohol and the weed. And when I think back to when I was smoking or drinking, I think like, hey, I didn't really have any control over myself, especially with the weed part. What I really struggled with was I get the munchies. I get the munchies and I just would not stop eating. I would just not stop eating and everything was tasting so good. And yes, of course, weed really intensifies your taste and just in general, you feel, touching your skin, feeling, tasting, it intensifies it. So yeah, of course, everything was tasting really good, but I just really couldn't stop because what happened was I started eating something that I really wanted. And then afterward, I got a thought and I was like, oh, that would taste so freaking good. And then I went to the fridge, I made that, I ate that. And then I had another thought, oh man, them chips would taste really good now. And then I did it. And then it was just like a continuous cycle until I felt myself being so incredibly full and then waking up the next day and then just feeling kind of like, damn, I don't have my life under control. Like my life is really not under control because I didn't have myself under control because weed made me lose my self-control. Alcohol made me lose my self-control. The same goes for the emotions. When I was drinking, initially I started drinking to have a good evening, but I had underlying, disappointments, underlying negative emotions. And it all came out after I was drinking or while I was drunk. I was like, when I was sober, I held myself together. I put myself together. I was like, fine, everything's good, But then I drank and then I drank a little bit too much and then I would lose control of my feelings. This is when you call your ex in the middle of the night saying that you miss him, leaving him a voice message and you haven't talked to him in 2 months because you still cannot let go and you still have the sadness inside of you. And then you call them drunk AF and it's just like, I miss you and I just wish you would do this and blah, 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 blah. So we lose our self-control in those moments of being under the influence. It's an undeniable fact. We all do. And I think, what also depends is the amount that you drink. For example, if you have a glass of wine, you're a little bit under the influence. Does it make you lose your shit? Not necessarily, It really depends on how your body works. You know your body best. So really, if you drink occasionally, if you smoke occasionally, you know your body best. And if you feel like something is like out of control or something is just something you cannot control that anymore, maybe it's time to reconsider doing certain things. And I'm not only talking about drugs or alcohol, weed or alcohol. I'm talking about also other things that you use as an unhealthy coping mechanism. And I'm saying unhealthy because using substances, using alcohol, using video games. So in my opinion, there are a lot of unhealthy ways to deal with things. What I just listed, as well as also, let's say you want to get over somebody, so you jump to the next person, and then you want to get over them, you jump to the next person. So it's kind of like you're basically getting another person to soothe you and to soothe those underlying feelings that you have. And so that also goes into it. Or what else could it be? Or just like overeating, overdoing your plastic surgeries. All of this are unhealthy ways to deal with really underlying emotions that are there. So back in the day, I used to really party a lot. I used to go out every weekend. I used to drink every weekend. And I found it very interesting. For me, it was like, oh, wow, I'm finally getting out, because I was in a home where a lot of things were not allowed to do. I had a very strict mom, or my mom is very strict still to this day. And I feel like I was suppressed a lot with my emotions, with, waking up in the middle of the night with things being thrown around an apartment, waking up to arguments, and just like it does something to you. So when I finally moved out to go to music college, I felt free. And at first, I went excessively to the gym, like excessively. I was 16. When I was bored, I just wanted to find something to fill it up with. So I went to the gym 3 times a day, which is amazing. Don't get me wrong. It's really great. It does something good for your body. You're staying fit and whatnot. Going to the gym is a great coping mechanism. But if you're really overdoing it, yeah, it's good for your body. But what's really in there that makes you feel like you have to work so hard, or that you have to do it so excessively? What feelings do you have inside that make you want to go work out excessively? Is it that you don't feel like you're healthy enough? Is it that you don't feel like you're good enough? Is it loneliness that you're trying to kill by, going to the gym and staying active and doing things? Like I said, again, don't get me wrong, going to the gym is amazing, but I feel like everything you're doing excessively just means there's something that is wrong, something that maybe you may be unaware of that is just there. So just, I guess, things in general, when you do it excessively, it just means there may be something that you would have to really pay attention to a little bit more, instead of covering it up by doing something excessively in order to not have this sort of feeling, or in order to not face it, because it's scary. When we sit there by ourselves, no TV, no phone, no music, and we just sit there with our thoughts, it's scary. It's scary because you're facing your thoughts. And then maybe, if you don't know how to control them, it can really get you depressed, But sometimes it's necessary. If you have good intentions with yourself, sometimes it's necessary to just sit there in stillness and to just let the thoughts fly over you. Because what I've learned is, you don't have to believe every single thing you think. What thoughts are, you can basically see it as clouds. They pass by, they come and they go. Are they true? Are they true or not? You determine that. You determine how true a thought is. The thought can be there, but you don't have to believe it. And you can decide which thoughts you're going to pick and which thoughts you're going to act on, which thoughts you're going to believe. So, yeah, I kind of drifted off a little bit from here. But what I want to say is that just, me partying every weekend back then when I was 16 and I went to the gym excessively, there was just something in me, that wasn't right. And so at some point I just started excessively partying every weekend. I was in music college, and yeah, of course you're young and you're partying and whatnot, but is a difference if you're partying every now and then or getting drunk every weekend. So alcohol was always a big part of my weekend routine. There was no way I was not drinking alcohol. And I was 16. That continued 16, 17, 18. And then I moved back to my parents' house and I continued drinking. I did not realize that I wanted some Jackie Coke. I was just like, okay. And now looking back, it's like I was so used to the alcohol already, even though I wasn't drinking every day, but I was used to the alcohol. So when I moved back to my parents and I didn't party all the time, what I did was still drink alcohol. Because there was something in me that needed resolution. And so, I don't know, at some point, I don't even know how that happened. At some point, I moved to the States, I guess. And in the States, I have not really been drinking. But then when something occurred that was hurtful again, I used to grab me a strawberryta. I don't know if you guys know strawberrytas, but they have those in the States in a can. And it used to be my favorite. It's a lot of sugar in there. Strawberryta, you get it from the liquor store. It was so good. But it was something that I used to cope with my feelings. It was something that I used to calm my feelings because I felt like I needed something for my feelings. I needed some kind of solution. I needed some sort of something. Something had to be done. And the quickest thing was alcohol or weed a little bit later on. So now is a time, and like I said, I marked my seventh month sobriety. And that was a time I feel like I want to deal with my emotions. I want to deal with my feelings. I want to handle them, and I don't want any distractions. I don't want alcohol. I don't want the weed. I don't want to use that as a coping mechanism because I know it's just not going to get me where I want to be. I want to be a person that knows, I want to be a person that knows her emotions. I want to be a woman that identifies her feelings, that identifies her emotions, that reflects upon her emotions and situations and feelings, because that can get me where I want to be. And I just feel like doing something excessively will just distract me. So what I'm doing these days is I meditate. I sometimes sit in stillness, and I do let my thoughts come and go. And yes, I do get depressed. I wouldn't say depressed, but I do get sad. I do get really sad to the point where I just want to be in bed and not get up and just take a shower, clean the kitchen, and go back to bed. And then I tell myself it's okay. Today you just need some compassion. Today is a sad day. And if tomorrow is a sad day again, then it is what it is. And if I made a plan on how I want to spend tomorrow and I don't follow through with it, it's a promise that I made to myself and I didn't follow through with it. But I want to identify why. I want to be clear enough or have clarity enough with myself to understand. So why did I not follow through with it? Maybe I need more time. Maybe my body is so tired from what is happening that I just need to give it rest. And usually I don't really watch a lot of Netflix. And then during the times where I'm sad, I give myself that time to actually watch Netflix, because I know I don't do that every day. I don't do it like all the time. So it's just like something that I do when I want to like calm myself, or I read a book that day, because I noticed for some reason that watching Netflix like the whole day, it's kind of hard for me to do. Like I can watch like a few hours. I can watch maybe 2 movies in a row, but then I need a break. It's like, I need to read something. I need to read or do something. I need to cook something, or, something. So it's definitely, it's a shift. I can really tell it's a shift. So what I'm meaning to say is that what I do today is meditate, sit with my feelings, sit with my thoughts, have sad days and accept them for what they are. Accept those feelings for what they are. Knowing, hey, I don't need to do something to push it away. I don't need to do something to suppress them. Because if I'm looking at it psychologically, if I'm thinking about it psychologically, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not a therapist. I don't know about all of this stuff in detail. I just know from what I've learned and read in books. But what I feel is happening with me is that in my childhood, my feelings got suppressed a lot by my mom. And so it was like, okay, my feelings weren't being taken seriously. And it was like something was being done. And then the next day, it was just like, okay, nothing happened, as if nothing ever happened to you, right? So, and that today, I feel like is the same thing when I have those feelings and I'm trying to suppress them. When I went to party, when I went excessively to the gym, when I tried to just do something to not feel those feelings, I tried to keep myself distracted from them, from those feelings, to suppress them. And I had a very hard time identifying my feelings for a very long time, until I got super, super depressed. And then I went to therapy and I started identifying actually my feelings. And funny enough, when I went to my therapist, my other therapist last year, I started my second therapy. And I was still smoking weed then, but weed was causing me anxiety. It was calming my thoughts down, was calming my mind a little bit. But sometimes when anxiety kicked in, my thoughts went crazy. So it was like I dealt with panic attacks. Outside of weed, sometimes, but more so when I was smoking it. And so what happened was I told that to my therapist, because she asked, are you using anything? And I was like, I mean, yeah, I do smoke weed, but not so much, not every day, every 2 times a week maybe. And I explained to her what it does, and she asked me where the panic attacks are coming from and when they occur. And then I said, mostly when I smoke weed. And then she asked me, then why are you smoking it? And I swear I didn't have an answer for that. It was funny. It was funny, but it was so serious at the same time. It was like, yeah, the panic attacks occur when I'm smoking weed. Then why are you smoking it? If you know you're going to get a panic attack from smoking weed. In that moment, I understood. I was like, yeah, why am I smoking it? That's a good question. That's a question I would have to figure out for myself. I would really have to figure out, why the heck would I want to use something that I know makes me feel that way, in a worse way, right? So a big part of me not smoking and drinking today is that weed and alcohol just made me feel really different. Weed and alcohol just made me feel really different. It made me feel like not being myself. It caused me more anxiety, and it made my thoughts getting out of control. It made my thoughts be out of control again. And so, yeah, this is a big part of why I stopped. And I told myself I don't have a specific date as of when I want to start again or whatnot. I just told myself I'm going to do it when I feel like doing it. If I don't feel like doing it, then I'm just not going to do it. Because now I know when I have something that I have to deal with or cope with, I don't feel like having a glass of wine anymore. I don't feel like having a glass of wine to romanticize my evening anymore, because I do feel like it can also be, it sounds innocent, but that can essentially be the entryway, for long-term addiction. And I'm not saying addiction as far as you just getting up and immediately drinking alcohol. I'm saying addiction as far as, well, you're going to get used to having this glass of wine every evening. And if you don't have it one evening, you're going to try to get something else, to soothe yourself, because you're used to this soothing mechanism that is reliant on the wine. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I just told myself I'm going to drink or smoke whenever I feel like it, especially what I also know for myself now is I don't want to drink and smoke when when I'm not feeling good. So for my future, I do want to really pay attention to how am I feeling? Would it be good for me to, do that or not? How would it make me feel? But I don't have any interests right now. I'm just going to do it as I go and see how I feel. And if I feel like it, I'm just going to have a glass of wine, why not? But excessively drinking, getting drunk, I'm not interested in that anymore. Weirdly, I don't know how it will be in 2 years. I don't know how it will be in 5 years. We change. One day we may want to do something. The other day we may not want to do something. And then it can change back to wanting to do it. We're humans, So I don't know how it will look in a few years. But for now, I'm just like, okay, I'm good with it. I'm dealing with my shit. And what I also noticed, though, I want to add that. I notice when I'm not feeling good that I'm scrolling passively through TikTok. Scrolling all the time. It's like in an hour passes, 2 hour pass. And that is also indication. This is also why I took a little social media break. Because I noticed, that's not right. I know it's not right for me to sit on this phone for 2 hours and scroll just to watch unnecessary videos. And I caught myself and I was like, I gotta figure out what it is that I'm trying to deal with. And then when I stopped doing it and I took my social media break, I fell into a sadness. And the sadness was what I was trying to suppress. I had sadness inside of me because of a specific situation that I'm going through right now in my life. And I had it in me, but I tried to cope with it by scrolling through TikTok. And I feel like that is the worst and easiest drug that we have these days because it's right there. You don't have to buy it. You barely have to do anything in order to just open your phone and be in this world of the phone. And if you catch yourself, and I want to encourage you, if you catch yourself scrolling nonstop through social media, you wake up and the first thing you do is scroll for 2 or 3 hours, find out what it is. Take a break. Delete the app if you need. Delete the app if you need to for a few days. Take a break and deal with those emotions that you actually have. Because what I found for myself was when I took this break, I fell into the sadness and I knew this is it. I have the sadness and I have to deal with it. And if that means laying in bed and not wanting to get up, then that means that. And I will accept it for what it is. And I just need compassion right now. It's a lot that I'm going through. And it's no wonder that my body feels exhausted. And I feel like when you're doing that, that will benefit you so much. It will like you will grow as a person when you do that. And you will be able to also show other people that, hey, drinking so much alcohol or smoking weed is just a strategy for you to suppress something that's inside. And like I said, we're all humans, and I don't know how I will be in 6 months or 1 year from now. But right now, this is what I've learned from the past few months, or basically since I'm sober. This is what I learned. I learned to listen to myself and really catch myself and being more aware. And being sober for 7 months, I feel like, along with a lot of self-work and therapy, has made me be a lot more aware of how I am with myself in the process. Because I feel like alcohol and weed distorts everything, and it kind of blurs your vision. It blurs what you want. It blurs what you want from yourself. It blurs the vision that you need in order to reflect upon your emotions and your feelings. This is what I learned from it. And I'm continuing to learn from it, and I will give you guys updates as of how far I went, because I really don't know. Like I said, I don't have a specific date, but I'm very content with how things are without having alcohol or weed in my life. And no, by the way, if you're asking yourself, is it hard for you? No, it's not hard for me. It's not hard for me at all. The only hard thing is gatherings, birthdays, celebrations, whatever. And everybody's drinking, but it's not the fact that you're not drinking, because to me, it doesn't matter. Like, I can have somebody next to me drinking. I don't mind. Like, I'm not interested. I'm just not interested in alcohol like that anymore. But what is hard is having people ask you, oh, why are you not drinking? Oh, why are you not drinking? And then they ask you multiple times, like, come on, a beer is okay. Oh, come on, like a glass of wine. Why not? Why wouldn't you want to drink? That's annoying. Please, respectfully, don't do that. If you know a person is there and the person is not drinking for their own reasons, may the reasons be whatever, may the reasons be whatever. The person has their own reasons. If they're not drinking, you see them not drinking, then don't pressure them to drink. You can ask them, like, I don't mind being asked, why are you not drinking? I will tell the people, like, I don't mind, but please don't pressure me to drink. It's not the fact that it's hard for me to say no. It's just the fact that it's annoying, because I had this one evening where we were, and I had this person constantly tell me, like, come on, you can drink one beer, like that ain't bad. You or then 10 minutes later, you sure you don't want to drink? You sure you don't want to drink? It's funny, but it's not funny. But yeah, it's kind of annoying. That's literally the only thing. But other than that, like, it's really not hard at all. It wasn't even hard in the beginning. It was just a decision that I made, and like I said, I didn't even think about it until 1.5 months later. I was like, oh, when does the challenge stop? And then I was already over the due date, and I was like, okay, well, that's not even hard for me to do. And I'm enjoying it right now. I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying for it to not be hard. And so I encourage you, try it. It's amazing. It kind of clears your mind a little bit too, but be prepared and be warned, because when you stop drinking or smoking weed or whatever you're doing excessively, when you stop doing that, it will be uncomfortable. It will be uncomfortable. And why? Because we're pushing the uncomfort away by coping or taking coping strategies such as drinking, such as scrolling, such as smoking weed, to not deal with the uncomfort. So be prepared when you try, when you break it, when you try not to smoke, not to drink, not to scroll, not to do whatever you're doing excessively, it will be uncomfortable for you. But keep pushing, keep finding out, keep trying to identify it. And you will find a solution for what's really inside of there that is causing you, for you to want to drink, for you to want to smoke. This is what I learned. And I encourage you to do that, but be warned. But there is a very beautiful thing waiting on the other side of this uncomfort. And that is getting to know your true self even more. And that can build a beautiful relationship with yourself. That can build a lot of trust within yourself, and that can build just getting to know yourself. And that can just be the blueprint for the rest of your life, for the rest of your future. So yeah, that was today's episode about why I stopped drinking and smoking. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will see you next week, Sunday at 8 p.m. It's your girl Paulina. Bye-bye.